Hey guys, so recently I just got my Quest Pro controllers. One thing that I was kind of worried about before I got my Pro controllers is if they would be good for Golden Trophy. After a few hours of usage, of course, it could get worse over time, but I think I think they're actually really good for Golden Trophy. It fixes a lot of the issues that I had with the Quest 2 controllers, and so yeah, I'm just gonna talk about them. So first thing is the tracking. The tracking is a lot better. The tracking is the main reason I wanted to get these new controllers, and as you can see, I can move my hands around, I can look up or down, I could still without any tracking loss, so it's pretty cool. I feel like my double shot has gotten a bit more consistent with it. Sometimes I would just be shooting and I would just like all of a sudden like my hand would just lock up. I just lose tracking, and then I'd have to like move my hands in front of my face for like a second or two, and then I could keep shooting. That issue pretty much doesn't exist with the Quest Pro controllers. I haven't had that many issues with the tracking. Initially, I did have a couple issues with the tracking, but those seem to have cleared up a little bit after a bit of usage. And the only time I really have any tracking issues is when I'm kind of just like resting them down, whatever. Whenever that happens, sometimes I get a bit of like tracking drift where my hands get kind of offset from where they actually are. But usually I've never had it happen like while I'm doing something like in action or whatever. So it seems to be pretty good. The angle on the controllers is a little bit different. I feel like the controllers kind of point outwards a little bit more. Like for example, my right hand is kind of like pointing to the right a little bit, and my left hand is kind of like pointing to the left a little bit. So it's kind of like where it would be like this, it's kind of more like that. It's not that big. It's not like that big. You can definitely notice it like when you first get it. But, I'm sure, like, I've already kind of gotten used to it, and I've only had the headset for a few hours, so I'm sure in a couple days I'll just completely forget that the angle is different at all than it was on the Quest 2. The weight on the controllers feels pretty good. The controllers are a little heavier, but I actually kind of like that because it gives it, like, a bit more of a premium feel. Not only that, like, the material on it is kind of like this, like, cool, like rubber pattern thing, like grippy rubber and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like it. So one thing that a lot of people were kind of like, telling me about, like when I was getting the Pro controllers, they were worried that the battery life of the controllers was going to get in the way, because the battery life is definitely shorter for these controllers. Sometimes the Quest 2 controllers would last like days. Some people it even last like weeks. But these controllers, they supposedly only last around like 4 hours. Now, personally for me, I don't think the battery life is really an issue for me, because my play sessions in VR are rarely over 2 hours. And whenever I'm not using anything, like whenever I'm not in VR, I have my headset plugged in, and the controllers also come with a charging dock. So instead of using like batteries and stuff, instead they actually charge. So there's no like battery compartment or anything. You just like put the controllers together, and then you put them on the charging dock, and then it charges. The buttons feel really good on the controllers. The buttons have kind of like a lower activation point. Instead of feeling kind of like mushy like the Quest 2 controllers did, they feel a lot more like poppy or like clicky. Not clicky, but like just, I don't know, they feel satisfying to press. So another thing about the controllers is the haptics. The haptics on these controllers are really good. Whereas the Quest 2 controllers feel kind of more just like vibrations, the Pro controllers feel more like haptics. They feel more high quality, they feel a lot more like snappy, and I don't really know how to explain it. It just feels a lot better, Now, let's talk about one of the downsides of this controller. Though one of the only downsides that I can find about this controller is the wrist straps. The wrist straps on these controllers, they suck. They're really bad. Right now, I have the wrist straps taken out, because I really do not like them. But I'm probably gonna try to find like a permanent solution, because I don't want to like accidentally throw my controller or anything. I think wrist straps are important, but the wrist straps on these controllers, they're kind of similar to like the Quest 1 controller straps and the Rift S controller straps. And if you have one of those headsets, then you know that the wrist straps on those are pretty bad. So if you were thinking about getting the Pro controllers and you're a Golden Trophy player, or just a Rec Room player in general, and if you're wondering if they're good for Golden Trophy or if they're good for Rec Room, I'd say yeah, I think they're pretty good. These controllers are, I really love these controllers. The tracking is way better, and I feel like I can be way more consistent with my double shotting, and I feel like I don't have to hold my hands in front of my face for a second before I can start tracking again. So the Quest Pro controllers get the Tiki Tac seal of approval. I like these controllers. I think they're great, and if you have the money for them, then I'd say go for it. So thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you in another video, and yeah, the Quest Pro controllers are very pro. Yeah.